points. So if I stumble on my words here or there, please forgive me, because again, I'm really just speaking from memory and from explaining what I do. So could we move to the next slide? Today we're going to first the quick agenda. I'm going to talk about my background. Who am I? Who is Jim Sosinski? What is my practice? What is the composition of my practice? Moving on to the key challenges I faced that cost me income and greatly increased the amount of stress that you have here running an accounting practice. Then specific steps I took to take back control of my practice, and those steps literally changed everything for me. And then we'll go over my results for you. So let's begin. Also, let me just share with you, I'm telling you what I found in my practice. These are basically my own thoughts, my own opinions, my own experiences. So like I said, hopefully maybe you can relate to some of them, that you found them in your own, but really I'm just, nothing I read, nothing I've studied, but just sharing what I found in my practice. So 2017 was my 32nd tax season. The name of my company is By the Book. It's an outsourced payroll and bookkeeping company. It's a division, as effective 1/1 this year. It's now a division of a larger CPA firm called the Koenig Group here in New Jersey. We merged at the beginning of the year primarily because the firm's managing partner and myself have been friends for 20 years, and every year after tax season we'd have our own little debriefing, and he'd say to me, Jim, I just don't understand how you can get the volume of work done you do with the level of staff you have. But By the Book, our niche is pretty much small business and personal taxation. But that niche is the root of my problem. Your clients, my clients are those that are small enough that they can't hire their own on-site bookkeeper. That means the bookkeeping and accounting duties fall upon the husband, the wife, or maybe some other staff member that really has no background in it. But yet again, they're a big enough client that they have accounting, bookkeeping, payroll, compliance and headaches, but compliance needs. So that's really my niche, is handling these small businesses. 44% of my income is tax planning and prep. We do about 1,100 returns a year, which, as you can see, is 900 individual, 200 entities. So that means I have roughly 200 accounting clients. 160 of those are your traditional historic write-up, after the fact write-up clients, but I'll talk about some tools later that really has streamlined this process tremendously. We also do live payroll. Live payroll represents approximately 15% of my practice revenue, and that means by processing roughly 15,000 payroll checks a year for all the clients and generating 800 W-2s. The reason I was asked to speak to you today was because of that merger statement I made. How do I process the volume of work I do with the level of staff I have? So next slides, please. What does my staff looks like? In general, we're 2 accountants, 1 bookkeeper, 1 junior accountant, 1 administrator, a total of 5. In all reality, the total, and that's not the merged firm, that is just my By the Book division. And the total is really 4 because my current partner, my father-in-law, he's in his early 70s now, really winding down. Sure, he'll spend 30 hours, 40 hours a week during tax season, doing tax prep, but now that tax season's over, 10, 15 hours a week. So pretty much 4 of us run the business. Also during tax season, we had 1 additional administrative person, phone answers, return assembly, but that's what runs my firm. But I didn't start out this way. I didn't start out this efficient. I had more staff. I had more bookkeepers. And bookkeepers, were processing work and charging. And basically, I'm not saying I was going broke, but my payroll was very high. So let me share with you some of the challenges I faced. Next slide. By challenges, let me really say what I mean is, what's costing me extra time, what's causing me aggravation, or basically what's causing me pain, what's causing me problems in my firm. So years ago, technology, too many clients using too many versions of software. What vendor are they using, what package are they using, what version or year of that package are they using. Everybody was coming to me with different problems, different solutions, different software packages, and I had to keep track of all of it. What did that result? Me having to put too many business returns on extension, which resulted in me putting personal returns on extension and just really extending my year much longer than I really wanted to in terms of how long tax season lasts. You know, with all these software packages, your clients are making bookkeeping errors. They, you know, they running the software. You know, every month I would have to make sure that the prior data where I left off their books has not been changed. So each month I'd have to make sure that I was starting the exact same place I left off, because how many times you'd get to go back into a client's software, get it, only to realize the bookkeeper or the owner voided something, deleted something, and now all of your numbers where you left off are no longer there. Basically, in the olden days, what I'll call them, the client ran the engagement, and we just kept saying yes to them. I kept saying yes to them. You know, there was cumbersome file transfers, whether it be the accountant's copy, whether it be sharing disks, all these different ways of handling things. But again, it was all because we were catering to how the clients were doing things. You know, this makes me think of, you know, growing up, two of my favorite cartoons were the Flintstones and the Jetsons. And in an example like this, I need to, you know, operate my practice like I'm in the Jetsons era and really get out of the Flintstones era, because that's really what I felt like I was for a long time. Standardization. Almost every one of my clients had a different set of chart of accounts. Some used numbers, some didn't. Many just said rent, utilities, and mortgage payment. Well, there'd be a GL account that they consider an expense, and they put it called mortgage payment. All of these things that we'd get up and not be able to efficiently, you know, all we're doing is cleaning up their bookkeeping messes. And then a lot of clients would consider themselves annual clients. Oh, I don't need you during the year. I'm handling everything. I'll just give you everything at tax time. And what do we get? We get a mess of 12 months of work, all to be reconciled and tied out in March, which is our busiest time of the year. It literally was just insanity. And what happens? Extensions, extensions, extensions. The other thing is I was taking on all different types of clients. You know, I really learned I cannot be everything to everybody, because I wasn't following my own advice. I would often speak and consult with my own small business clients and say, listen, do what you do best. You know, if you're the best pizzeria in town, make pizza. You know, you walk into some pizzerias and things, they have all these menu boards: chicken, veal, fish, pasta, sandwiches, soup, blah, blah, blah. Ridiculous. How could you be good at all these things? If you make the best pizza, sell pizza. And I wasn't following my own advice. I myself had a dozen menu boards of things I did for every client, because I just couldn't say no. You know, a client would ring the bell, say, hey, I want you to do this, and I was just too eager to jump. But what did that cause me? Each month I'd have to relearn, reacclimate myself to each and every client every time I touched that client. And then one of the last things, I was spending way too much time integrating payroll financial information into our clients' books. In my opinion, that is probably one of the most cumbersome entries, is, you know, taking payroll data from all the different systems that are used, some manual, some third-party systems, and getting all that data incorporating into a client's books. Just way much too time-consuming. So because of all these changes, let me show you what my year basically looked like before I had any kind of control. And this is really what my calendar looked like. Admit it, it was a lot of red, far too little green, a lot of red. And you can just tell by basic colors. Green is easy time, red is panic time. The one thing to notice, though, you know, for all of us, February, March, April, that tax season is fixed. That is an immovable object we have to learn to work around as best as possible, because that's not moving anywhere. So this is really what it looked like. January, obviously, business would pick up because you had all kind of year-end work going. Beginning of February, tax returns would start coming in, entity returns, and you'd be going full speed ahead until the end of April. Even then, it didn't slow down, because you have people on short extensions that you can get done quickly. You have not-for-profits that you can do, that I'm doing before May 15th. You know, not until June did you actually, in my opinion, June I exhale. June we breathe. But then here's July, the end of the second quarter. Quarterly work, sales tax, payroll taxes, all pick up the pace. And once we get into August, now we're heading towards, you know, September 15th, first extension due date. So work kept, you know, it's ramped up right again. All right, in between business and personal extensions, there may be a little bit of a slowdown, but then ramp it right up again for the October 15th due date. And even to the end of October, coasting. Finally, again, November, December comes. It's green. Now, if you go to any users conferences or seminars, when do you usually see all of these? Always in November. Why? They know this calendar. They know this is when we're going to attend those seminars. It's just that simple. But I mean, to close out this slide, everybody knows, the proverbial definition of insanity: doing the same things over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, I think that's the problem I faced that I was on. I was on a hamster wheel. I kept doing things. I was doing the same things, but I was hoping and wishing for different results. So finally, I decided to stop the insanity. I had to make changes. And what changes did I make? Next slide. Step one, I decided to be proactive versus being reactive. Proactive meaning I wanted to start taking control. I wanted to start narrating and defining the engagements, not answering the phone and having clients says, hey, I want you to do this, this, and this, and just saying yes. I decided I had to make a technology change. All right, this was back in 2009 to 2010 when Thomson Reuters, the software that I was using, was promising a brand new software platform. It was back in this time that I realized my clients were looking for more from me. Again, these are small businesses that they're in business for doing what they know how to do. They don't want to pay bills. They don't want to do all this bookkeeping. It's a headache to them. So they were looking to turn more and more work over to me. And the technology platform I had with Thomson Reuters, then Creative Solutions, just wasn't working. I went out looking for a new provider, and I found AccountantsWorld. Other changes I made: I decided I'm not taking on every potential client. I learned to say no. I learned I cannot be everything to everybody. At the time, I found out literally I was spending 80% of my time on 20% of my clients. That is another, true adage. And I just realized, I said, people call me today. I said, I'm sorry, I don't do that type of work. Let me give you the name of somebody I think who can help you. This leads to no more clients deciding how to do the accounting for their business. I stopped letting the clients dictate the engagement. First, I listen to them. And then listening, what do? We identify their problems. And then number three, I tell them, listen, I can help. I say, listen, I can see what you're facing. You have to do this, X, Y, Z, but let me show you how I can help. So this way, I'm not just providing a function, because that's what many clients see us as, is just providing a service and function. I think I'm providing solutions now, because I'm building them what I call a program, telling them this is how we're going to do it. And absolutely no more doing a full year's worth of write-up work once a year. My clients are all monthly clients. I tell them, you want to pay me more? Fine, give me 12 months in March. I'll charge you far more than a smaller, manageable monthly fee that I will take your work. And part of that is in developing this program, sitting down with the client, and one of the biggest chaoses is where they go and say, well, listen, we know hypothetically there's 12 steps to getting the work done. And they'll say, listen, Jim, I'll do 1, 2, and 3, but I need you to do 4 and 5. I don't understand that. I'll take it back and do 6 and 7, then you finish 8 through 12, and then we'll call it a month. Absolute chaos. We sit with the client, we determine what steps they're going to go to, and then when is the handoff. Just like in a relay race, when is the baton being passed? When are we taking over and bringing it to the end? None of this back and forth, and they think they're saving money because they think we're doing less work, and we're actually going to charge them more money because of all this back and forth. It's just costing us way, way too much time. I decided to do all live payrolls. Out of all of my clients, I think I have maybe 3 clients that use an outside payroll service. I used to have maybe 6 or 7, and they've slowly migrated over to me. I don't force it, but I'll explain later how I get them to convert. I switched from hourly billing to flat fee billing, and I'll explain that as well also later. Streamlined and documented processes. I really made this, I use the term like a franchise. This is how we do things. I wrote the playbook, and we tried to standardize processes as best as possible. All right, and also about the billing, just go back one step, just made me remember, rather than just being another service provider, you now become a strategic business partner to them. They have you on retainer, so to speak. For X of dollars a month, Jim is my guy. and he's going to take care of my stuff. And they seem, at least my clients seem to value me so much more now, instead of worrying about picking up the phone because I'm going to get a bill because I called Jim. So the key to being able to provide this is choosing the right technology. And I knew I had to pick the right system. Next slide. And as I said before, I chose AccountantsWorld. All right. AccountantsWorld allows me to provide a solution for my clients that's scalable, that's automated, and most of all, that I retain control from what permissions they're granted to the chart of accounts that they use. Everything is set up, by me. There's, again, real-time shared data. You're in a cloud system. I can sit and access my data anytime, anywhere. No more file transfers, no longer to deal with multiple versions of a software. You customize this for each client to their needs. However, literally 90+% of all my clients have the same identical chart of accounts because I was able to set them up. I can provide them professional financial statements and management reports, and more so, provide them more timely financial advice. What I just had a doctor, a physician, younger gentleman, came out of medical school, started his own practice. He was just in my office the other day because he's about 3 years in now. And in the beginning, he wanted, oh, Jim, I'll do all the bookkeeping. He wanted to keep costs down. Well, and I told him, I said, Rob, one day you're going to be handing this all over to me. He goes, well, Bob, I don't think so. Well, guess what? 2 days ago, he's sitting in my office. He handed it all over to me because he realized that he was, his way, he came to the conclusion, what I explained to him the first time we met, is your work is like a 100-piece puzzle. Every month, it's 100 new pieces. Now, you think you as the client have control because you're touching every single one of those puzzle pieces. However, by the time you've taken all the time to touch every one of them and try to put the puzzle together, because you've written every check, you paid every bill, you never have time to look what the puzzle looks like, what picture is showing in front of you. So now I'm doing all that work. My staff, my firm is doing all that background work, and each month he's presented with a useful management report that gives much more timely, up-to-date feedback, which also helps me as well, because come the end of the year, come October, November, we're looking to say, ooh, how are our clients doing with their estimates? Are we under, are we over? Well, if the clients work up to date, you're working not only you projecting to the end of the year, but you're going back to the last time you had the work done and projecting from then to where you are now and then to the end of the year. So when I'm doing this, clients' books are reconciled right through September, right through October. So the amount of data we have to project is so little, our estimates are usually dead on accurate. So the other thing is that faster, more accurate data entry. There are tools that are there now, bank feeds, automatic digital check payments, all this technology that is out there that is incorporated into specifically AccountantsWorld that allows me to be that much faster, more accurate. This type of technology basically takes you out of the desktop into the cloud. It gives, giving your client, my clients, their very own system. You become their IT provider. You're giving them what they want while you're retaining control. And that to me is the biggest thing. Not too long ago, I think it was probably in the last fall, many people didn't really notice this, but I was at a seminar and I found that QuickBooks, the big gorilla in the room, made a change. What change did they make? Before the fall, when somebody referred to QuickBooks, they meant QuickBooks Desktop. And then you had QBO, QuickBooks Online. Last fall, they switched. From now, when Intuit refers to QuickBooks, they mean QuickBooks Online. They mean that is their flagship primary product. And if you're talking about QuickBooks, then that's QuickBooks Desktop, and that's how they refer to that. So no longer do they delineate the online as special and QuickBooks Desktop as standard. They reversed it. So even the largest player in the industry is telling us the cloud is where we need to be. So let me continue to tell you, how did I use this in my own office? So, old model, client buys software. He buys a package system that is marketed directly to them, leaving them in control. They then invite me into the mess they created. All right, I just reversed this. I reversed it to me being the software provider. I set it up for them the way I see fit. Then I invite them in. I provide them a turnkey system using AccountantsWorld. And then what I said before, clients no longer do the accounting steps of all the A to E, then I do this. We decide, when are you passing the baton? And as I mentioned before, the system is scalable. So in the beginning, if they're going to be doing more bill pay and check writing, well, that's where you set the barometer. That's where you set the handoff. But as Dr. Rob, the one I spoke to you earlier about, when he came and said, you know what, now all of a sudden that barometer is going almost right down the beginning. The client is not doing anything other than charging things to his credit card and paying, and he's charging more to his credit card than anything, and paying a few online banking bills. As I said, standardized chart of accounts. I remember the years ago going in, and every time I'd go in and say, oh, what is rent for this client? What is this for this client? And you have to search the chart of accounts just to post it correctly, to make your entries. All of that's gone, because for me, account 7450 is rent. It's 7450 for, as I said, almost 95% of my clients. I now offer complete accounting services. And what do I mean by complete accounting services? Yes, a good majority of my firm is still traditional, after the fact, write-up clients. Clients, you know, handwrite their checks, use online banking, whatever it is to pay the bills. We get the bulk of their work once a month. We're in charge of the write-up. But we also have clients that we are their total outsource solution. They don't have a checkbook. They can't pay bills. We do everything for them, and I can tell you that is an extremely lucrative contract to get, especially when you're in control of everything and there's no mistakes to fix. I am doing tax returns the second week of January with these clients. I can work remotely, collaborate. I mean, there's two things to benefits of working remotely. One is collaborating with your clients, because clients that you do give online access to, you could be looking at the same thing at the same time. None of this trying to figure out what's happening. But for other clients where, again, we're doing everything. For instance, last year, the seminar I was telling you about, I believe it was in Indianapolis. Before the day I flew in and the seminar started the next day, I got an email from a client. Jim, I need financial statements right away. The bank needs them. I'm going for this. They're going to cancel my line of credit. Fine. I logged into it from my hotel room on my iPad, not even a laptop, from my iPad. I went in, saw that good, the bank recs are all done. I just verify a couple balances. I checked the office to make sure that there's one or two line of credit balances were correct. We issued the statements, emailed it to them. The client couldn't be happier. All right, jumping to talking about working remotely and processing payroll. As I mentioned, I was part of a merger effective January 1st this year. The parent firm, the Koenig Group, they were using ADP for payroll. And I'm like, well, listen, if we're going to be providing payroll, we're not paying somebody else to do it. He goes, oh, well, they do it for us for free, but they do it for all of our clients. I said, we'll process our own payroll. And they agreed. So now I am partner responsible for processing payroll. It gets processed on Monday mornings. However, a couple weeks ago, my oldest daughter, thank you, graduated college, graduated Seton Hall University here in New Jersey. And as always, things get messed up. They didn't have graduation at the Prudential Center where they should have had it. They scheduled in this place called the PNC Bank Arts Center. It's like this outdoor amphitheater type of place. Thank God the weather was great, but Monday's payroll processing day and graduation, and I'm there Monday morning, and that's the day I have to process it to make sure the direct deposit's processing time. So I'm literally sitting in a lawn chair, in the lawn seats at this outdoor amphitheater, and the office manager texted me the payroll, said these are the hours for our hourly employees. I sat on my iPad and processed the firm's payroll remotely from sitting in a one of those very low lawn chairs waiting for graduation to start. So that is what the benefits of working in the cloud. Again, easy things to say. No more updating software. It's just updated for you. You know, to be honest, my clients are pretty much looking for an electronic checkbook, a way to pay bills and track your balances. Again, it's all about being proactive than being reactive. I can provide them just that. And when I set the permissions, which I'll show you later, that's all they see. They're only seeing a system of what I allow them to see. So I think it's time, Marie, let me turn it over to you because I have it note that we have time for the first polling question.
All right, thanks, Jim. So for our first polling question, what we'd like to ask everyone that's on the webinar today is, how similar are the challenges you face in your own practice to the ones that Jim is facing? Are they very similar, somewhat similar, or different? So if you want to just take a moment to answer that poll question. Okay, great. Looks like we're on point here. The poll is showing that around 80% of the people on the webinar today are experiencing challenges that are very similar to the ones that Jim's been experiencing. All right, back to you, Jim.
All right, thank you, Marie. And that really, everyone doesn't surprise me. What we do, I don't want to say in this terms isn't rocket scientists, but there are millions of small businesses out there all having the same problems, and we're all in the same boat doing the same kind of work. And like I said, I'm just all too happy to help everybody and share how I stop my own insanity. So now that I've done a lot of talking about me, the challenges I face, changes I've made, let me share with you some of what I see as the unique features AccountantsWorld has that allows me to process work so efficiently. So one of the first ones is Client Snapshot. A beautiful thing that if you have clients on all these different packages and you're going into them individually, they're all one-offs. Here is a dashboard that you can sort by any of the columns, but you have your clients. You have whether or not you're allowing them to have access, key data indicators, and watch items. So cash balances, accounts receivable, suspense. If you're not familiar, suspense is clients who post things into suspense account because they just don't know where to put it, and means, hey, Jim Accountant, take a look at this and put it where it belongs to be. And you see the one, line number 2 in red, check amount. Well, that's an alert. You can put in alerts so that if the client writes in a check in over a certain amount, you will get emailed. And you could set up the client gets emailed as well, alerting them that if any of these parameters you set have been exceeded. But I love it because when I'm working, I can see where all my clients are in one place. What year end do we have? When was the last time we closed the year? What's the current year period? And also client login. For those who are given client logins, when was the last time they logged into the system? Because those now you're telling ones that are almost ripe to turn more of their work over to you. If they're not getting the work done, if they haven't logged in how long, that's when you can sit and talk. And if you look in the upper right-hand corner, Excel, all of this can be exported to Excel so you can sort and manage and make even more powerful reports. This is a very powerful tool. So no longer do I have need for spreadsheets or third-party tracking software for me to keep track of where I am for all of my clients and what's going on with all of my clients. Everyone is here in this client snapshot. Next, please, Marie. Very similar client dashboard. Now, this is something that you see for all of your clients, but you could also, clients you allow to have login, you can let them see it as well. And it's just a beautiful display of income comparisons, profit and loss comparisons, cash balances, bank accounts, expense analysis, customer balances. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, miscellaneous links, you could sit there and drill immediately to just some standardized things that we use all the time. And if you see the button setup, this is all modifiable and changeable to you. This is not just something, well, this is all you get. You can go in and in client setup, toggle on and off the features you want, both on the client's dashboard or the client's dashboard. So your dashboards don't have to be identical. They can be built and customized to data that each one of you wants to see. And then underneath you see summary. So again, last period that was opened, when was the last bank rec done? For those that you're doing bill pay for, checks pending approval, checks approved, all just quick snapshot data that you're seeing all in one easy to use and very powerful client dashboard. Next, that moves us on to, again, another similar screen, but this is the Client Activity Center. So it's another powerful tool, but more so when you're that outsourced CFO that I was talking about that we do. Because every engagement, even though we try to standardize them, some are different. Some clients, when they send us the bills, it's just agreed upon. They send it, I pay it, as long as there's cash, obviously. But others, we get a lot of the data sent right to us, electronically, or even people have things mailed to us. So we populate the system, but we allow the clients to approve the bills to be paid. So this is where you can go in and see how many unprocessed bills you have for clients, how many bills are waiting or are approved, ready for payment. So again, another for when you're expanding your practice to what I do is these outsourced services where, again, clients are relying on us to do more. A powerful tool so you don't have to sit and go searching what's ready to be worked on for each of your individual clients. It's all put out right in front of you. Next slide. Launching next week, brand new, digital checks. And you're probably gonna have the same question I did, is what the heck is a digital check? Because I kind of figure I know it, but how does it work into what we're talking about here? Well, yes, easiest, most cost-effective way to pay bills. And in this case, you don't need any of the payee's bank information, just their email address. It's all done through emails. Now, we know there's a lot of tools out there. I'll talk about some of them later regarding bank feeds. And even when you're in QuickBooks Online, you'll see when bank transactions are available to upload. But that's nice, but it doesn't always flow correctly. There's still a lot of sometimes manual mapping depending on each individual bank, because some banks don't always put the vendor name first. They put some little code first. So every time it comes into the system, you still got to manually map it. What digital checks allows us to do is reverse the current process of how the checks and bank feeds work. Because traditionally, people are handwriting checks or printing checks or going online to their bank and letting the bank do online banking. Now this is data we're importing into our system to populate it, and now we're trying to make sure it gets mapped and posted all correctly. Well, now through digital checks, you're creating that process, you're starting the process in your software. So that means when you do those bank feeds later, everything's going to map and clear perfectly. So let's see what it looks like. Next slide. In the system, your digital checks bill payment looks exactly like your regular check payment system. However, if you look in around 2 o'clock on the screen, blue button above there says digital check. So rather than printing the check, you trigger the button that says digital check. Your vendor receives an email. They can then choose from that email whether to print out the check image and deposit it like they would any other check, or they can then enter and deposit it electronically, automatically. Again, you're getting the gain of exact matching when the bank feeds come back after all these items clear. Again, just making it a much more streamlined and efficient system. Next slide. Financial reporting. Accountant Power provides a complete collated set of financials, including all your standard reports: balance sheet, income statement, cash flows, statement of retained earnings. You could put on title pages, table of contents, accountant's letters, notes at the end, all customizable, all set for you. It has a special dedicated field set of statements just for not-for-profits, and you can customize your financials to look different. You can have some set for your client, a set for yourself, a set to publish for the bank. So one that I like very, very much, and my clients have told me it is just a powerful information tool, is the 13-column income statement. The 13-column income statement is 13 columns, 12 months, and a total. So each month they get to see how each new month of expenses have built on, is creating the total for the end of the year, and just really showing them deviations, showing them changes, showing them price increases they didn't even know were there, but now realized it when they looked at their financial report. You could do departmental income statements, and now up to a 4-year comparison. And Lily, this isn't it. There's more to come. Before the end of the summer, at least what I found, and I shared this with AccountantsWorld, and remember in the beginning, Marie said how they found me because I was always pummeling them with, hey, this is great, but it would be better if. And I did that all the time. And the best thing is they implemented my suggestions. And again, always to make the system just better, and really better for us, the accountants. When I say more to come, the one thing I shared with them was there are many third-party software packages out there, and the one that comes to mind right now is a package called Fathom that takes the raw data generating in accounting systems and really produces a beautiful analytics report. It gives you ratios, key point indicators, comparison reports. So it's really taking the financials and explaining them to the clients and telling them what they really mean and providing them more analytics than just raw data. Now that's great. We can do that verbally with our clients, but then we end up doing 30 minutes each month with each client going over this. So, you know, I've been working and providing them samples, and I'm told that by the end of the summer, AccountantsWorld is going to have a very robust analytics-based management report, which once I start sending these to my clients, my value is just going to go through the roof even more. But let's move on, take a look at one sample. As they said, you could sit and run comparative statements. So for instance, it's not just this. You can run up to 4 years comparatives for balance sheets and income statements. Again, just showing trends, just showing your clients the change of things, because, you know, the snippet of the month of and the current balance sheet, well, that's great. Comparison is really what gives me the information I need to better advise the client. So a very robust set of reports. Now let's take a look. Next slide. I kept talking about control. Control, control, control. This next slide shows us what control looks like. This is the permission screen. You can see in the upper it says allow client access. Every client doesn't have access. We have access. We have clients. We create all the clients. We now go into this screen and say, you know what, I'm going to allow the client access. And not only allow them access, but box by box, step by step, delineate exactly what I'm allowing the client to see and to do, both. And what's really nice about that is that if you take a package like QuickBooks, most clients, you probably even realize that, you know, I have new clients that walked in here still. Oh, well, I went into business. I'm doing this. I bought QuickBooks. Well, I haven't done anything with it because I looked at it. Why? Because they see a program with menus of endless selections. They have no idea where to start. Now I'm providing them a system that literally the menus are only showing them what they're allowed to do. And they pick it up very, very quickly. So now the screen actually goes further that we can't see on the slide, but there's even advanced features that have more different things that you can allow them to do. One of them is included showing them the dashboard we saw earlier. There is a button at the very, very bottom that says all permissions. I never check that one. It just doesn't. So also to the right, there's another button that says client view. So after you set your permissions, click the client view. You can see exactly what the client's going to see now. You don't have to go log out, log in as them. You can then switch view to what the client sees, making sure it's all in order before you send out the email saying, hey, you have access. So what does, you know, all of these tools from AccountantsWorld, and what does this all allow me to do? Next slide, Marie. It allows me to get my write-up work done monthly. That, again, to me, as I shared with you, is the key to being efficient, is getting the work done monthly. A primary feature that allows me to do this, and you heard me mention this, but it's called bank feeds. Bank feeds drastically reduce data entry and give me control. Traditionally, I have found that I am now doing anywhere from 12 to 20 bank recs the first day of every month. And that means bank recs are closing a client out for the month easily. First day up, first day of the month, bam, 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 right through. Because of bank feeds, because of the downloading of both the transactions that are automatically clearing that are in there, and then downloading the statement in bank rec, it just works seamlessly, efficiently. And as I said, no more doing write-up work yearly. It gets done monthly. Nothing's worse than you getting, even if you do it semi-annually, doing it quarterly. You do work quarterly. You get April, May, and June's work sometime in July. You get to it late July or August. Now all of a sudden you have questions. What are some of these transactions? You contact the client. You're asking them what happened back in April. Do you think they remember? Absolutely not. They remember what happened last month, but not 3-4 months ago. So now all of a sudden, instead of simply answering the question, I'll get back to you. What does that mean? More delay in our times. So this way, I process monthly. Each month, if there's any questions, all the client has to do is they answer my email. Hey, Bill, I found these 4 transactions. I'm not sure exactly what they are. Because it's only the next month, 9 out of 10 times, it's fresh in their head. Oh, yeah, that was this was this was, and it's answered. I get an email back. We can close the client. And then for the clients that you allow access, once I do the bank rec and I close it, I mark closed a month. I close the month, but that's only on their side. We still have access to all the work, but they now no longer can make any changes, before that. So like I said, questions on entries get answered faster. What does this result to me? Business returns get done in January and February on time. All right. Come January, I do the same bank rec, but all I do is some year-end entries, depreciation, inventory, verify some balance sheet items, and literally I get 80 to 85% of my entity returns done by the end of February every year. But I can see we moved the slide. Let me move on to what do bank feeds look like with check images. So once you run bank feeds and download your data, this is basically what you see. All the transactions appear in a grid view there, and a button on the left, you see a button that says View Image. The image of the check doesn't pop up right there. It actually pops up in a secondary window, which is phenomenal because anytime you hit view, you change transactions, hit View Image, the image in that second window just changes automatically. So, most of us have dual monitors. I do. All my staff does. This way, you're just working seamlessly. You click View Image. The window is on the other monitor. The image comes up for any checks that we don't know how to post. And then also in bank rec, the exact same thing. This is the import screen, but in the bank rec screen, there's a button that says Import Statements. Everything comes through checked, and bank recs take seconds now, literally seconds. So one other important piece that I've mentioned about before is that I have a very substantial payroll practice. I really found I needed software designed to run a payroll practice and not just run payrolls one at a time. I wanted to be able to compete, with the service bureaus, ADP, Paychecks, all the people out there. Payroll Relief is designed to do exactly that. It does that by automating the process. I guess that's the best way for me to say it. It's a fully automated system. It automatically files all the tax and quarterly and compliance returns. It schedules and makes all the tax payments for me. I deliver a beautiful reports package to the client with one click of the mouse. And as I explained before, it's cloud-based. So my staff, or anybody can access it any place. And it also handles, I'm sure, like I said, I do payrolls in at least a dozen different states. So it handles it all seamlessly. So as I said, another big piece of my practice is payroll. It not only creates me efficiency, because I mentioned before where, to me, one of the most aggravating and time-consuming entries is integrating payroll into records. So that increases efficiency because this dumps live right into accounting power. But you created another profit center. You're not letting your clients send their money to ADP and Paychecks. They're sending it to us now. So as I talked, the efficiencies, cloud-based, it also allows us to have more touches with the client. If you're doing their weekly payroll, their bi-weekly payroll, you're talking, or your staff is talking to your clients on a more regular basis. Again, building that relationship that is deeming you not just a service provider, but a strategic business partner. And not only that, as I said, it's a profit center. It's very profitable. I can process a person payroll, soup to nuts, right, beginning, tax payments, direct deposits, everything, 3 to 5 minutes. And 5 minutes as long as if there's a lot of extra hours for vacation, holidays, and you got to split all that up. The other thing is when it comes to payroll, I get paid just like they do. Payroll gets run, the fee goes right into my bank account. So no more running after all the big companies when clients process payroll themselves, especially I have a lot of food service clients. You know how many times I'd go in and they put a new waiter or waitress on the books and they put them at the $2.13 minimum wage, but then not enough tips to make it minimum wage, full minimum wage. And I'd have to go back and get that all fixed before we finished. Just headaches. As I said, seamless data into my accounting package, not just because in general, I think you realize there's 3 sets of entries. The check entries so you can do your bank recs, the GL entries to post all the expenses and the liabilities correctly, and then the same thing for your tax payments. Because the system does your tax payments and third-party like child support payments, all of that automatically posts right into your general ledger, right into accounting power. Bam. It's heaven. So how do I get my clients to let me do this? I know I alluded to this before. Very honestly, I tell them, if you're not letting me process your payroll, you are paying twice for it. And they look at me bug-eyed. Well, what do you mean? I said, you're paying ADP paychecks, pick a company, $30, $35, $40 a payroll run. Well, guess what? My bookkeeping fee to you is going to be probably $50 higher because I now have to manually take all that data and, as I said, incorporate it into your accounting records. Now, if you pay me that $35 to do your payroll, that bookkeeping fee goes away because now I don't charge you for that volume. It's integrated. And they're like, oh, I can save money tremendously. Plus, in general, the fees I charge my client are just traditionally far less than the big people because we don't have all the levels of marketing and everybody else to pay. So that's how I get my clients to do it. Let's take a quick look at payroll because we're getting closer to the end now. Payroll Snapshot, basically the same as the accounting snapshot. You can click to sort any clients. You can see when the next payroll due date is. That's usually what I do. You know, next pay date, or next processing date, the middle column, because click on that. Which payrolls are due? You know, who do we have to finalize? Who do we have to finish? And it tells you what status they're at. So again, a very powerful tool where it's a program that allows you to run the practice, not just process payroll. And then you see all the way on the right side, past due forms. Well, hopefully you have no yeses there, but because again, as I said, the system processes, files, and pays everything automatically. So again, with Accounting Power, one dashboard allowing you to monitor all of your payroll clients at once. Next slide. For clients that you allow, just like you allow clients to have access to Accounting Power, you can allow them to have access to payroll. Wonderful. Let them add in their own hours. Let them be accountable for them. We get an email saying, you get both an email alerting that payroll is in, or here in the batch processing window, where you can then authorize and finalize several clients all at once. Another beautiful feature is the system does a tremendous amount of email and text alerts. If you put in the cell phone numbers of your client's employees and they get paid on Friday morning they get a text on their phone, bing, you've been paid. Very cool in my opinion. But you know, you really look like better than one of the big providers because you're providing these levels of services, and all of these features, it all comes included in the price. You know, the employees have their own portals, so they can log in and see their own history and deliver the W-2s through the same portals. Let's move on to the next slide. Payroll reports. You have a robust selection. The screen they're showing you here says build report set. You have standards where you have one that's called payroll set. That's the one that you determine, and with the click of a mouse after processing, that weekly or bi-weekly payroll set goes right to the client. You have a year-end set. You can have a contractor set. You can make customized sets, like here, Mark's reports. So you can just have these customized report packages to easily send data to exactly what they need and who do you send it to. Like I said, as the title of the webinar says, I've grown my practice 30%, and I could tell you that payroll has been a significant part of that. It's been a significant part of that because it's added additional revenue, and it's also allowed me to save a considerable amount of time on the bookkeeping and accounting end. Again, we're retaining control. So what do results look like? Next slide. Because I decided to change my processes, now that I've changed the way that I work, I've realized that I've increased my efficiencies, I've decreased the time spent on the clients, which all equals increased profit. You know, you got to remember, we're accountants, but we also often forget that there's two parts of the equation of profit, both revenue and expense. Implementing AccountantsWorld has let me raise my revenue because it has created new profit centers, payroll. It's allowed me to offer more services, expanded services, being that outsourced CFO, which is, you charge very, very good hours for that. That increased my revenue. Expenses. You know, the two highest expenses that I have on my own income statement is payroll and occupancy, my rent. How does that relate to AccountantsWorld? Well, guess what? I'm processing more and more and more work with less and less staff. I can pay my current staff better than everybody else does and have less staff. And also, with less staff, you don't need as big as office space. So I'm able to do so much more with less because of AccountantsWorld. The AccountantsWorld suite of products honestly was my key to help me better manage my schedule of my work throughout my work and be ready for tax season when it came. So, what does that mean and what does that look like? Next slide. The left side is what I showed you in the beginning. The right side is pretty much what my life is right now. And what I loved about it is a lot more green and a lot less red. But again, you see that February through April, you see I moved the line in the month of February because at least this past year I found my tax season did not start literally to February 20th. Sure, you had some easy returns come in before that, but the bulk of returns, not until that third week of February, did I start seeing any kind of volume in earnest come in terms of personal returns. So what does that mean? Now we have, we used to start doing returns the beginning at end of January. I don't see that anymore. So by me getting my business work, business clients done on time, like I said, now you have this window of opportunity before the personal season really kicks off and gets in full gear. Process and get as many of those returns out as you need. Now that's the logical sense anyhow, because almost every one of our business entities is either an S Corp or an LLC passed through 1065. So what does that mean? K1s. You need the K1s to do the personals. It's a logical flow. So by getting the work done monthly, I'm closing out books the first, second week of January. I'm getting the business returns done. And that then allows me much more time. I'm not going nuts trying to get business returns done all while the personal returns come in. And what does that also mean? No extensions. I think I had less than a dozen extensions this year, and probably almost all of them are done already. I don't sit and track everyone individually. I have them in my tax software, a couple that I have to do. Here, I'm turning around on my desk here, and I'm literally looking at 4 folders that are returns left on extension. So what does that mean? My August, my September, my October is now light green, green, a little bit of yellow, because you do have always one or two, a couple of the clients that you're going to have some work to do at extension time. But I can tell you, in October 2015 extension date, I was on a week-long cruise. On specifically the date, October 17th of 2016, I was out playing in a golf outing. So those extended due dates where everybody's going nuts about don't exist in my life. I've greatly reduced the amount of stress in my life and in my practice, in my office. I've increased time for vacations, for family time, really for whatever matters most to me. I've taken back control of my clients. I've taken back control of my firm. I've taken back control of my life. Literally, I've stopped the insanity, and that's the best way I could say it. I've put my foot down and stopped the insanity. I'm starting to lead the life I've always wanted to live. The life that we said, why do we become accountants? To provide for our families and have that, good life. Well, now I'm starting to do that in the past couple of years. But there's more to this. This isn't everything. Let me talk to you about how I bill my clients. Next slide. I think earlier in the slide, I talked about flat fee billing. Well, as I said before, I've been doing this for over 30 years. I pretty much know how long a client should take to process strictly by the number of transactions they have. You can see the volume of their work. You know how long it takes to process this work. You can come up with a flat monthly fee. That creates advantages for both the clients and myself. For the clients, you put them on a budget. They love it. They know these small business clients love to know, Jim's going to charge me $400, $500, $600, $800, $900, $1,200 a month, and all my work is done, and I don't have to worry about it. Peace of mind. They like a budget and know that's what it's going to charge me. Number 2, advantages for me. First off, I auto debit and charge either auto debit their account or charge your credit card the first of every month. All right, for that flat fee. That means no AR. All day, we've talked about efficiencies. Well, guess what? Chasing AR is far from efficient. So they pay everything else electronically, your taxes, your insurances, things. Guess what? I get paid that way too. And I've never had a pushback, never a problem. So this is the only way I see to really fully profit from productivity gains, because you're sitting there, we're not out reducing. If you're on an hourly billing and now all of a sudden you're building all this efficiency into your office and you're finding, geez, I used to take 5 hours to process this client and I billed for 5. Now I'm only doing it in 2. Well, I don't want to bill them for only 2. I don't want to make less money. Flat fee billing allows you to keep your billing at that 5-hour rate, but you're getting the work done in 2. significant productivity and profit gains. I also, as I said before, I don't take on every client that comes to my door. If the first words out, when I quote them a price, if the first words out of their mind is negotiating a new price, this is my price. Because I always says, as it begins is as it ends. I don't haggle. This isn't the straw market in Nassau. This is my honest, fair price. I don't care what you were paying the person before me. It doesn't matter to me. This is my fee. This is my rock bottom, honest fee that I'm profitable on and I feel is affordable to you. But again, most importantly, I set the expectations of the engagement on my terms. I lay it out for them. Next slide. But what have we been talking about? Change. Change is not easy. We all know that, but it absolutely is worthwhile because I'm now living a life only because I decided to make a change. I read a survey once that only 1% of accountants, of us, implemented new technologies and considered to be on the leading edge. Only 1% of accountants implemented brand new technologies when they're launched. Cutting edge. 1 to 3% of us took it on or brought into the firm within the first year. And I always considered myself right about there, at that 3% mark. You know, if it's been around a year, you know, this is something I want to look at. 3 to 15%, after the product or the technology is proven that, yeah, this is the way things are going to be done now. The remaining 85% of our profession will not implement and make a change until their back is against the wall. So how do I get my clients to change? 1, listen. I listen to my clients, my staff. I hear what troubles them, what bothers them, and then I tell them I'm providing them a solution, not just a change for change's sake. I got my clients to change because, like I said, I'm providing them that e-checkbook they're looking about, not just a bookkeeping system. But just as important, you know, I'm to my clients and to the employees, I'm not pitching it as change. I'm pitching it as a solution to their problems. How did I get my staff to change? I became a leader. I provided the staff the tools they needed to succeed and led by example because I used them. You know, and honestly, with AccountantsWorld, the learning curve was not months, was not weeks, wasn't even days. Literally, it was hours. And my staff thanks me now. The clients thank me because I've created some quick start shortcut guides. I mean, anytime we buy something, they open the box and you see 2 things, the big thick manual in 12 different languages and the quick start guide. What do you grab? Exactly. So I've created, you know, very simple quick start guides. How do you write a check? How do you pay a bill? How do you enter a deposit? Clients are up and running on this system in minutes. They think they got to come in for days of training and they schedule out a whole day and in half an hour they're like, that's it, and they're happy and they're fine. The time is now though. You know, our practice is, at least my practice, like a flat tire or a tire going flat with a leak. You know, it's time to fix it. We just keep putting air in the tire, putting air in the tire, putting air in the tire. We got to keep stopping and putting air in. Well, it's time to stop, fix the tire. The end result is, you know, what my lead processor said to me, I wish we did this years ago. Because yes, change is difficult. Change can and does hurt. It's very painful, but change is inevitable. Our lives are changed. Our profession has changed. So I don't fight it anymore. I embrace it. I plan for it. That's the key. I plan for change because I know it's coming. Mitigate the pain by planning for the change and implementing your own plan on your terms when you want to and not when it's forced upon you. Remember, what was it, 2006, I think, mandatory e-filing? My current partner now, back then, you know, called me, Jim, this e-filing is mandatory. What are you going to do? I said, what do you mean what I'm going to do? I've been e-filing for 3 years. And he fell to the floor. I said, because I saw it coming. Just like this year, driver's licenses. State of New York was mandatory. New Jersey was optional. I told all my clients, just give me your license. Well, it's optional. Guess what? It's optional this year. Guaranteed tomorrow or the next, it'll be mandatory. So let me just get it done now. And I know that's going to happen. But again, you know, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I know it's a silly old adage, but you have to apply that to our practice. So that's really where I want to end today. Our final slide. I want to thank everybody for your time today. Just as I want to be the strategic business partner to my clients, I honestly consider AccountantsWorld to be my own strategic business partner. I told you, if I see something I think needs to be done and done better, I tell them and they fix it. And then it's not fix it, they implement it. They put it in. I use AccountantsWorld products to accomplish what I do, what I've shared with you today. I don't think I could be doing it without the products that I'm used from AccountantsWorld. So Marie, let me turn it over to you. Thank you everybody for your time today. I hope you've gotten I was able to share some of the information of how I do things.
Thank you so much, Jim. All right, so we're going to talk about some of the products that Jim currently subscribes to that have helped him to advance his practice. But first, we'd like to just show you a few of the top 100 accounting firms that rely on our technology to serve their clients. So we've got firms like HBK, RSM McGladdery, Elite Payroll Solutions. As you can see here, actually, we have several firms that are payroll processors, and these firms are firms that are processing hundreds of thousands of checks per year. So we really run the gamut from small accounting firms up to top 100 accounting firms. Now, some of the products that Jim has been using, okay, all right, include our package of our Power Practice system. And this suite includes the accounting package that Jim uses, along with a document management system called Cloud Cabinet that you can use to store and share documents with your clients, a website solution called Website Relief that will help you to create a professional-looking website for your firm, Practice Relief, which is a time and billing system that you could use to manage your staff and your practice more effectively, and our after-the-fact payroll solution that you can use to perform payroll tasks and compliance a lot faster than you may have been doing in the past. Okay, you can see the quality of the products that we have by the ratings that we've received from independent analysts. As you can see, Accounting Power has been given a 5-star rating by CPA Practice Advisor. Okay, and we've got a lot of other great ratings too. Payroll Relief was even rated, 5 stars as well by CPA Practice Advisor. Now, pricing for the Power Practice system itself, which includes all the models that we just showed you on the previous slide, is only $21.95 for the year, and this includes unlimited users for your firm. Okay, so you could have as many staff members as you want doing this here. All right, next, Jim also mentioned that he's doing payroll. He uses our Payroll Relief solution because it's so profitable. And once again, these are just some of the benefits of the Payroll Relief solution. So you'll have unparalleled automation of all the compliance tasks, next generation batch processing, payroll tools and reporting that are really comprehensive to help you to run your payroll practice. You could process payrolls of, basically all sizes and for the needs of all companies. Support's included at no additional cost, and your cost is going to be based on check volume and not your client count. So generating profits will be even easier for you. We have a price per paycheck that includes the W-2s, the 1099s, and all of the other reporting requirements. It's because of all of these benefits that Payroll Relief processes over $4.5 billion in transactions every year, and over 40,000 businesses rely on Payroll Relief to actually pay their employees. Okay, so let's take a look at the payroll pricing. All right. Payroll Relief pricing can go anywhere from 45 cents to $1.15 per check. There's no additional fees for the W-2s or 1099s. There's no additional fees for the direct deposits, and support is included. Okay, so our pricing is all inclusive, and it includes all of these things. Now we have a first-year special that's a price designed for growth. It's an unlimited flat fee, or rather a flat fee that we have for unlimited processing, okay, and that fee is $14.95. The $14.95 includes everything that we just talked about, the W-2s, the 1099s, the e-filing, the direct deposits, and support, okay, everything. Now, the first year special is on a rolling 12 months. So if you start with the special today, June 8th, 2017, you can run unlimited payrolls until June 7th of 2018. All right, so this is a great way for you to help start or build your payroll practice. Okay, now you'll be able to download more in-depth information on the products in the handout section of the webinar that's located in your control panel. We have one quick poll question though before we end the webinar. So we'd really, we'd like to thank everyone for attending today. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you, Jim. And here is the poll question. Okay. So how would you like to proceed? If you'd like to schedule a one-on-one demonstration where we call your office and have a screen sharing session with you so that you can actually see our products, it's not going to be a canned demonstration, but one that's actually driven by you. Indicate that you'd like to receive a one-on-one demonstration. You could even put a specific date in the notes section, and we can work on getting you a demo on that date. Next, if you just have some questions that you'd like answered that maybe you have after seeing Jim's presentation, you could indicate that as well. Now, many of you on the webinar today may already be doing payroll for your clients and may have seen payroll relief before. If you'd like to take advantage of the first-year payroll special that we have, indicate that and we'll have someone give you a call to get you started. And lastly, if you'd like to move forward with our Power Practice system, you can indicate that and we'll have someone give you a call as well. We'd like to thank you so much for attending today, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.